this right here. Makes the first guy miss. The spin second. And then
he shows up real fast.
It's his best game. Here's Barkley. Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's the guy.
Speed, power, agility. Some athletes have one, a few have two. But Saquon Barkley, he had them all. He was supposed to be the next great running back, the face of the New York Giants, the savior of a broken franchise. And for a while, he was.
And Saquon Barkley has been injured again. At the end of this run, right there, going out of bounds with a little extra push, Barkley down and in pain immediately.
But just as quickly as he rose, it all came crashing down.
This just in, the Giants have just confirmed that Saquon Barkley is out for the rest of the season. After tearing his ACL in his right knee in Sunday's game, the star running back will have to have surgery. The injury happened in the second quarter of yesterday's game against the Bears in Chicago.
His career was in jeopardy. The doubters came out. Was he done? Would he ever be the same? Saquon Barkley heard it all, and he had only one response. This is the story of Saquon Barkley's rise, fall, and comeback to be the NFL's best running back. The Bronx, a place where toughness isn't a choice, it's a way of life. For Saquon Barkley, toughness ran in the family. His father, Alibay Barkley, was a fighter, literally. A professional boxer, trained for battle, built to survive. But his fight wasn't just in the ring. Before Saquon was even born, Alibay found himself on the wrong side of the law. Arrested, locked up, a future that could have easily pulled the entire family down with him. But Alibay refused to let that happen. He made a choice. His son wasn't going to fall into the same cycle. He was going to push him, harden him, prepare him for something bigger. And for a while, that meant boxing, learning footwork, discipline, and the hunger to compete. But something wasn't right, because no matter how much time Saquon spent in the gym, his heart belonged somewhere else. Football. That's where his passion was, but in a place like the Bronx, that dream wasn't easy to chase. The city wasn't exactly built for football greatness, and the Barkley family knew that if their son was going to make it, they had to move. So they left. They left the Bronx for Pennsylvania, a quieter town, a different life, a fresh start. Whitehall, Pennsylvania. This was where Saquon's real journey began. At first, he wasn't special. He wasn't the biggest kid. He wasn't the strongest. Coaches overlooked him. But what they didn't know was that they had just lit a fire inside him.
You get these kids in high school when they're a freshman and everyone's like, oh, he's going to be an NFL pick someday. He's, a five-star athlete. Saquon wasn't that. Saquon being Saquon, he did it one way. He just outworked everybody.
Every single day, lifting, running, studying, because he had a goal. Become the best player on the field, no matter what it took. And then, it happened. Almost overnight, Saquon Barkley transformed. He got stronger, faster, more explosive, and by the time his junior year rolled around, one thing was clear. This kid wasn't just good, he was a monster. Pennsylvania high school football had never seen anything like this, and neither had college recruiters.
At the end of his sophomore year, I started sending film out. And I remember sending the film to Rutgers, so they sent their running back coach down to watch us when we were at Rutgers, and he was making plays. Coach Flood came over and said, Coach Gilbert, can you and Saquon come to my office? I'm like, I hope we're not in trouble. And then he said, we'd like to offer you a full scholarship to come to Rutgers.
The first offer came in, then another, and another. Alabama, Ohio State. The biggest programs in the country wanted him, and for most kids, those are dream schools. But Saquon saw something different. He saw a program on the rise, a team that needed a leader, a school that believed in him before the rest of the world caught on. So he made his choice. He didn't go where everyone expected. He didn't pick the flashiest school. He picked the one that gave him a chance to build something special. And from the moment he stepped on that field, college football would never be the same.
Our recruiting philosophy, we are going to dominate the state.
After getting the job, I reach out to the guidance counselor and say, hey, could you have Saquon Barkley give us a call?
After much deliberation and discussions with his family, Saquon made the difficult decision to decommit from Rutgers, and he accepted a scholarship offer from Penn State.
I'll be furthering my academic and athletic career at Pennsylvania State University. The reason why I chose Penn State is because it fits me the best overall for the next 4 to 5 years of my life.
It was really his decision, but it was up to me. I'd have still let him go to Rutgers.
This decision was met with mixed reactions from fans and analysts, but Saquon remained confident in his choice, eager to prove himself on a bigger stage. College football is a different beast. In high school, Saquon Barkley was a god, a man among boys, but at Penn State, he was just another name on the roster, a freshman running back surrounded by giants. He was about to find out that talent alone doesn't mean a thing here. The first thing every freshman learns? Nobody cares how many touchdowns you scored in high school. If you can't prove yourself here, you're getting sent to the bench, fast. The first few weeks were brutal. College defenders weren't just bigger, they were smarter, stronger, faster. But what nobody knew was that this kid had an obsession. He wasn't here to be average. He was here to take over. When was the moment everything changed, you asked? September 12th, 2015.
Great to have you with us here today at Beaver Stadium. Steve Jones, Jack Hand.
Penn State versus Buffalo. One cut, one hole, and he was gone. That was the first glimpse, the first time the world saw Barkley's rare combination of power and speed.
And how about Saquon Barkley? We love this guy, Camp Howard.
He's going to be a star. Look at the athleticism, going over the top, keeping his balance, picking up a few more yards. This guy's got a chance to be special.
And from that moment on, there was no holding him back. Saquon didn't just want to be good, he wanted to be unstoppable. At this point, the running back was squatting more than Penn State's linemen. The weight room had never seen anything like him. You just don't see running backs who can do what this guy does. He's powerful like Adrian Peterson, but he moves like Barry Sanders. It's just unfair. Hurdles, spin moves, breakaway speed. The kid had every tool in the bag. He finished out his sophomore year season with 1,496 rushing yards, 22 total touchdowns, and was on the first team All-Big Ten. By his junior season, the hype was real.
Should Barkley be in the Heisman conversation?
Okay, now I'm a Heisman voter, so here's how I approach it. I think my job is to make sure that the best player in the Big Ten is compared to the best players around the country. There's no way I can watch all the best players around the country during the season. So I try to find out the best player or decide the best player in the Big Ten, and Saquon is absolutely in that conversation.
The Heisman Trophy, the NFL draft. He wasn't just a college star anymore. He was on the verge of becoming a household name. Then came Iowa, a nationally televised game, and the greatest performance of his college career. Iowa's defense tried everything, but it didn't matter, because Saquon refused to be stopped. That night, he officially became the best running back in college football.
Thank you, Reese. It's a beautiful 75-degree day in Glendale, Arizona for the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl at University of Phoenix Stadium. The 10-2 Penn State Nittany Lions ranked 9th in the country, taking on number 11 Washington as the Huskies make their first appearance in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl.
One last game, one last chance to cement his college legacy. 92 yards, pure speed, pure power. A final exclamation point on one of the greatest careers in Penn State history.
Fresh off a win over Washington in the Fiesta Bowl, Penn State running back Saquon Barkley has declared for the NFL draft.
With an incredible career at Penn State, Saquon set his eyes on the NFL draft and testing his abilities against the best in the business. He was invited to the 2018 NFL Combine in Indianapolis, Indiana, where he put on a show.
Did somebody other than Saquon Barkley work out today?
It was arguably the best running back performance we've seen in our combine history.
NFL scouts knew what he could do on the field, but they weren't sure if it would translate over to the NFL. Time and time again, young players perform really well in college, but as soon as they enter into the NFL, they quickly get swallowed up and can't produce at the same level as in college.
I'm a versatile player. I think I showed on film that I can run the ball, I can run in between tackles, outside tackles, I can catch the ball out the backfield, I can pass block, even can play some special teams. And that's something that I try to continue to grow in my game and continue to be a complete player.
Before the NFL draft, Saquon went back to New York to take care of some off-the-field business.
Yeah, I mean, I think they started off with a bang just by announcing you joining the Rock Nation family. I mean, obviously that picture of you and Jay was viral to the definition.
The announcement, 369 million impressions is for an announcement is incredible.
He decided to join Rock Nation Sports, and that had the whole country buzzing. He knew that his growing platform and giving back to his community would bring way more good than harm.
Maybe you do the press conference and immediately following we do a surprise and delight at a youth football camp. That's with the Boys and Girls Club or something like that. So you're immediately ingrained into the community.
I like that.
You like that?
A lot. I like that a lot. Because that's something that obviously it's good media publicity, but that's something that's a good thing to do.
Getting drafted into the NFL is one thing, but giving back to your community can give huge change to make the future better. With the philanthropy side in place, now it's time for Saquon's biggest day in his life.
Dallas, are you ready for the NFL Draft?
April 26th, 2018, a TNT Stadium, the biggest night of Saquon Barkley's life. The debate had raged for months. Quarterback or running back? The Giants had the second overall pick, a chance to draft their future. And the football world had one question. Would they gamble on a position that most teams considered replaceable? The critics said no. They said, running backs don't last. That taking one this early was a mistake. But Saquon Barkley? He wasn't just any running back.
With the second pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State.
And just like that, the New York Giants drafted Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley was tailor-made for this football team. This team was 27th in yards per touch for running backs last year. Yards per touch, not yards per carry. Saquon can tote it, and he can catch it. Getting perfect.
The bright lights, the massive expectations, the pressure of carrying a franchise on your back. Some players break under it, others run from it. But Saquon? He embraced it. New York City, the biggest market in the world, a city where legends are made or forgotten. From the moment he stepped off the plane, he wasn't just a rookie. He was the face of the team, the guy fans believed could save them from years of mediocrity. And in week 1, he finally got his chance to prove it. September 9th, 2018, MetLife Stadium, Giants versus Jaguars. His first NFL game, his first chance to show the world that he wasn't just hype. The early moments were rough. The Jaguars' defense was elite. The Giants' offensive line, not so much. For 3 quarters, he was bottled up. The critics were watching, waiting, ready to say, "I told you so." And then, it happened. One play, one moment, one cut, and everything changed. The handoff, a hesitation, a burst through the gap. And just like that, he was gone. 68 yards, pure acceleration, breaking through arm tackles, outrunning the entire defense, diving into the end zone. The crowd erupted. MetLife Stadium had never been louder. This was what the Giants drafted him for. That touchdown was just the beginning. Week after week, Barkley made defenders look foolish. The speed, the agility, the power. It didn't matter what defenses threw at him. He made them all look slow. 2,000 total yards, 15 touchdowns, 91 catches. No rookie running back in history had ever done that. He wasn't just a star, he was a superstar. Rookie of the year, the best player on a struggling team. And the only reason Giants fans still had hope. But football is cruel. And just when it seemed like he was destined for greatness, the warning signs started to show. The Giants had a running back, but they didn't have a team. In 2018, they finished 5-11.
Coming off the worst season the franchise had endured in decades, the Giants did manage to improve a little in 2018, but only to 5 wins in a division where the next worst team had 2 more than that, leaving many of the biggest questions surrounding this franchise's future still unanswered.
The next year, 4-12, bad coaching, a bad offensive line, a defense that couldn't stop anybody, and a franchise that was falling apart.
We'll start with the firing of the head coach, Pat Shurmur. Was that your call, Dave, or did it come from above you?
That was not my call.
But the biggest problem? They were running Saquon into the ground. Week after week, he carried the entire offense. And in 2019, his body started to break down. First, a high ankle sprain, the first real injury of his career.
and injured on this play. He has been knocked out of the game. You see Barkley immediately in pain as he was tackled low on the swing pass.
He fought through it, came back earlier than expected, but something was different. He wasn't as explosive. The cuts weren't as sharp. He wasn't breaking tackles like before. And then came the moment that changed everything. September 20th, 2020, Bears versus Giants, week 2 of the season. A routine play, a handoff, a cut to the right, and then agony. Saquon crumpled to the ground, banging the floor. He knew immediately, a torn ACL. A season over before it even began. The stadium went silent. His teammates surrounded him. And just like that, the player who was supposed to carry the franchise was being carried off the field. The injury wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Because now, for the first time in his NFL life, people were doubting him. Would he ever be the same? Could he still be that dominant force? Or was his time as the NFL's next big thing already over? It's the part of sports that nobody talks about. The cameras disappear, the fans move on, and you're left alone, fighting your own body. The first few weeks, brutal. He could barely walk. Every step felt impossible. The knee was swollen, stiff, unresponsive.
You gotta teach yourself how to get your balance. You gotta teach yourself how to walk, and the steps and steps and steps after that. But I think this rehab, this process is going to help me into a better person, not just a better player. It's teaching me a lot, teaching me patience.
For months, the simplest movements had to be relearned. Walking, then jogging, then trying to cut, only to realize his knee wasn't ready. The doubts started creeping in. Will I ever be the same? Will my body ever trust me again? What if I've already peaked? And while Saquon was battling his body, the critics were circling like vultures. Running backs don't last. He's done. ACL injuries are a death sentence. One injury, and suddenly the player they once called unstoppable was being written off like a broken down car. And that was the fuel he needed. This wasn't just about rehab anymore. This was about proving them wrong. Every day, early mornings, late nights. The same painful, repetitive movements, over and over again. A normal person would take a year to recover. Saquon, he wanted to do it in 9 months, but it wasn't just about getting back. It was about coming back better. Doctors wanted him to go slow, but he was progressing so well. Trainers warned him to take it easy. He pushed harder, because in his mind, there was only one goal: get back to the field and remind the world who he was. September 12th, 2021, Giants versus Broncos. Exactly 364 days after tearing his ACL, Saquon Barkley was back. The crowd was on its feet. The moment was supposed to be perfect, the return of a superstar. But there was a problem. Something was off. He wasn't the same. The explosiveness, not there. The quick cuts, hesitant. The confidence, shaken. The stats told the truth. 593 rushing yards, 3.7 yards per carry, the worst season of his career. The critics, louder than ever. He's washed. He's never going to be the same. The Giants should move on. And for a lot of players, that would have been the end of the story. But in 2022, Saquon Barkley came back stronger than ever. 6 games, 1,312 rushing yards, 4th in the NFL. Another Pro Bowl selection. But this wasn't just about stats. This was about reclaiming his throne. And when the playoffs arrived, he stepped up. A wild card round, Giants versus Vikings. New York's first playoff appearance in 6 years. The pressure was on, and Saquon delivered. 2 rushing touchdowns, a dominant performance. And just like that, the Giants were moving on. For the first time in his career, Barkley tasted postseason success. But that dream, it didn't last long. Divisional round, Giants versus Eagles, a bitter rivalry, a chance to go further. But this time, the Giants were outmatched. The season ended in heartbreak, and in the months that followed, one question loomed over the franchise. Was this the last time Saquon Barkley would wear a Giants uniform? In 2023, the NFL made one thing clear. Running backs didn't matter. Their value, plummeting, their contracts, shrinking. The league was treating them as replaceable. Franchise tags for running backs dropped from the $10.95 million in 2015 to $10.09 million in 2023, the only position to see a decline. Superstars like Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, and Leonard Fournette found themselves without teams. Even the best backs in the game, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, and Saquon Barkley, were given franchise tags locked into one-year prove-it deals instead of long-term security. The message was loud and clear. In the modern NFL, running backs were disposable.
As far as the running back market and how we're getting treated right now, it's brutal out here, man. Like, it's terrible.
We're in a position that our production hurts us the most.
I'd say to the Giants, I'd say to my teammates and be like, you want me to show you my worth? You want to show you how valuable I am to the team? I won't show up.
And for Saquon Barkley, that reality hit hard. After 5 years of carrying the Giants, fighting through injuries and giving everything to the franchise, they refused to commit to him long term. And so, after 6 seasons in blue, Saquon Barkley made a career-altering decision.
Giants running back Saquon Barkley has reached an agreement with the Philadelphia Eagles. $37.75 million contract that could be worth up to $46.75. Now Saquon Barkley, a man who a lot of people say was one of the only bright sides for the Giants for a few years, is in a new team with a new check and hopefully a new culture taking place in Philadelphia, even though they won a Super Bowl just a couple years ago.
Saquon Barkley, the face of the Giants, signed with their biggest rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, a 3-year, $37.75 million contract, a fresh start, and a chance to prove that elite running backs still mattered. Critics questioned the move. Was it worth it? Would Barkley even last another 3 years? Saquon Barkley didn't care about the opinions. He was ready to dominate, and in 2024, he didn't just dominate. Saquon and other top running backs helped the league understand the running back position still holds a lot of value in the modern game. From week 1, Barkley played like a man on a mission. Faster, stronger, more determined than ever. And by the end of the season, he had put together one of the greatest performances in NFL history. 2,005 rushing yards, a new career high, 15 total touchdowns, an unstoppable force in the backfield. He wasn't just proving his worth, he was rewriting the record books. And when the playoffs arrived, he didn't slow down. It was almost like he was the missing piece to the Eagles organization. February 9th, 2025, Super Bowl 59, Eagles versus Chiefs. 2 powerhouse teams, one final battle. And on the biggest stage of his career, Saquon Barkley delivered. 57 rushing yards, 40 receiving yards, a dominant performance in Philadelphia's 40-22 victory. When the confetti fell, Barkley stood at the top of the football world, a Super Bowl champion. But his impact went beyond just winning a ring, because over the course of the season, regular and postseason combined, Saquon Barkley did something even more historic. By the time the dust settled, Barkley had rushed for a staggering 2,504 yards, breaking Terrell Davis's record for the most combined rushing yards in a regular season and playoffs. Let that sink in. The same league that claimed running backs were replaceable just witnessed one put together one of the greatest rushing seasons of all time. And the cherry on top, he was named NFL Offensive Player of the Year and earned his 3rd Pro Bowl selection. And as teams headed into the 2025 offseason, they had no choice but to rethink everything. The devaluation of running backs, that might have worked in 2023. But after Saquon Barkley's historic season, teams were finally paying attention. And at just 28 years old, he wasn't done yet. The next chapter of his career still being written, more records to chase, more rings to win, more greatness to achieve. But no matter where he goes next, no matter how the rest of his career unfolds, one thing is undeniable. Saquon Barkley was built for this.